Hi guys, the first lesson we have done on diseases and pests of apples. We talked about fruit flies. Now, for fruit flies, this is how it is done, and this is what a fruit fly trap looks like.
What you use is you need the trap. This is the cat trap. This is the trap. You can see the trap, and then you also need like this one. I had used it before, so I need just to change. So this is a bait, the old one, but I need to use a new one. And then you get a bait like this one. It is somehow juicy in nature. So the liquid in it what attract the fruit fly, the female one. So and then you come and put it. You hook it here in your bait, then you can now close it. After closing it, now you hang it back.
When it rains, it pours, and when it pours, we are prone to disease again. Now, today we are going to talk about a common disease that hides in the soil and in the air, and when it rains, it becomes active. It is like pouring water on flowers when it is dry so that they start looking nice. Now, there's a fungi called anthracnose. Anthracnose is mostly active when it rains, and especially if your trees have cuts or weak spots. The easiest way to identify anthracnose in your farm is one, your leaves will have dark spots, dark black spots, which turn gray at some point. When it becomes hard, like the disease spreads a lot and becomes tough on your plants, sometimes the leaves might fall off. Now, to identify the anthracnose on the fruits, your fruits also will also have dark spots. These dark spots, if you don't control them, they grow bigger, and then the fruit starts to rot. That is the easiest way to identify if your fruits, not specifically apples, but any fruit in the farm, can be attacked by anthracnose. Mostly happens when during the wet season. If you also keep your plants wet, they will attract anthracnose. Now, during the dry seasons, it doesn't mean that anthracnose does not exist. It exists, yes, but it is not active. It waits for wetness. When it is wet, it becomes active. The first way to control anthracnose is one, the neem oil, the one that I talked about. If you're a farmer, you should have neem in your farm. The other name is mwarobaini. We are used to mwarobaini. Yes, you should plant it in your farm. Having neem oil, you spray the neem oil in the leaves and on the plants. Chances are very high you will be safe from all these diseases that we're talking about. That is the easiest. There are things in the kitchen that you can easily access, but you don't know solutions to dealing with anthracnose. One of them is baking soda, like baking powder, the one that you use for baking the baking flour. Yes, it is called baking flour, not baking flour. But anyway, whichever school you went to, flour, whichever floats your boat. But yes, baking flour. When having baking flour is a solution. You can mix baking flour with water, then spray. The amount and quantity you can consult. We will guide you on the amount that you should use to spray. Now, your tree needs airflow so that anthracnose does not attack your leaves. Most of the time we plant trees and leave them to just be leaves, just branches, but we don't prune. Now, for you to have a good airflow in your leaves, you need to prune you need to prune your trees. Now, pruning, if your trees are already affected, you need to prune, then burn the affected trees, the affected branches and leaves. But when you're pruning, you're creating airflow on the trees. Ajakusenga we prune. It is tough, it is sad, but we prune. And if you call us to your farm to help you with this disease called anthracnose, we will prune even if it is 4 years old. We will prune, and it will be very hurtful. So to control that, start pruning as early as you can. Create airflow so that anthracnose and other diseases cannot attack your trees, especially apples, now that we're talking about apples. The second disease we're talking about today is early blight. There is early blight and late blight. Early blight, when the days are hot and then you have cold nights, early blight is prone to attack. It hides in the soil. Most fungi diseases hide in the soil and in the air, and then they wait for seasons. They wait for seasons like the hotness during the day or dryness during the night to be active. Now, for you to identify early blight in your leaves, in your apple trees, the leaves of the apples tend to have yellowish, dark yellowish, brownish spots, which are very distinct. Looks like a bull's eye. It is very big. You can identify it from afar. Now, even in the fruits, early blight attacks mostly unripe fruits. The spots are also very distinct on the apples. Okay, now the easiest way to deal with early blight is neem oil. Having mwarobaini, as we call it in Kenya, is a plus in your farm. Start planting neem in your farm, because the neem oil is sprayed on the leaves. The ratio as to what you should apply to water then spray, you can consult, because it varies depending on where you are located. Now, the second one is compost tea. Compost tea, again, also, I can advise you to use a certain aspect ratio to add on water, but it might not work on your farm the same way it works on mine. But again, consult. As Jay Kusenga, we are here to help you have healthy trees. As we talked about anthracnose, pruning is a way of controlling pests, fungi in your farm. But most of us tend to let our trees grow. For you to control early blight, there needs to be aeration and space within your leaves. This will help prevent you from having attacks from fungi that float in the air. Because they are active during this season, the hot and the dry, you should be careful as to your trees, how they look. The difference between anthracnose and early blight is, you see, for early blight, if it gets out, for anthracnose, if it gets a cut on the trees or a weak spot, it attacks. For early blight, it attacks the change of weather. Be woke. The third disease. No, before we go to the third disease, there is the one thing that I have always told you to do. When you have infected trees, infected branches, infected leaves, you should cut them. Now, once you cut them, these infected leaves, apples, and branches cannot be used as compost because they are already affected. The easiest thing you do to control the spread is you burn them, because once you move, these are fungi. A fungi does not die because you just remove the branch from the tree and place it on the ground. The fungi can go back to your tree because, again, it is actively hiding in the soil or the air. Now you need to burn all these. Once you burn them, you are free. But you need to continue controlling the fungi in your farm. The third disease is late blight. Late blight mostly comes during the wet seasons. Oh, the signs of the late blight. This is a very deadly, sneaky fungi that is very active. mostly can be seen when the rains have already ended, because during the wet seasons it is wet. Wetness, the rain sometimes fight a lot of fungi when it is raining. Now when it stops raining, late blight comes into play. The leaves for late blight, they start rotting. When they rotting is basically drying up and they fall off. The fruits during the late blight, they start become smelly. If you're keen in your farm, you will know it is late blight because they rot. When something rots in the farm, you will know the smell is very distinct. For you to control the late blight, the solutions are almost similar to the others. One, remove the no. Before we go to the solution, there is something you should know. The late blight looks almost the same as fire blight. Fire blight starts drying from the tip. The only difference between and fire blight and the late blight is the late blight starts attacking the middle of the tree. Wherever it starts and dries, it can kill a whole tree. The difference between that and fire blight is fire blight just attacks the tip and starts drying from the top. Now you can control it by cutting the edge up, the distance we mentioned last time. If you haven't seen that, go back to the video and see new, then cut. But for this, it attacks in the middle of the tree or anywhere. As long as the fungi starts from there, it will dry from that point. You might find your tree, the upper part is green, the middle part is dry, the downer part is green. That means that is late blight attacking your apples. Again, now the control measures you should have. One, you should remove the affected leaves and branches. Remove them, cut, burn. Yes, you remove them, then burn them. Again, remember they are fungi. Fungi spreads even if you remove them from the tree, from the leaves, and throw them on the ground, they will still be affected. So you need to control them by burning. Baking soda. Again, in your kitchen you have baking soda. You can use that. Aspect ratio, again, consult. We are here to guide you depending on the location you're in. Baking soda is a solution. Spraying baking soda mixed with water is a control measure. There is neem. Remember, neem, I have told you, as a farmer, you should have it in your farm. Mwarubaine, you should have it in your farm. Always have mwarubaine in your farm to help you control this fungi. The aspect ratio, again, as to mixing, we always have classes on Saturdays. On YouTube. We share links. We have platforms where you can learn on the aspect ratios depending on where you come from, because you will ask, we will tell you the aspect ratio. Now, try as much as possible on Saturdays from 7 p.m. Kenyan time to join our lives to get educated on the aspect ratios and the things you should do in the farm while farming fruits. The last one is mulch. You should mulch at the base. Mulching should not be, you should not put your mulch on the trees. It should have a distance. We have a video on YouTube on mulching. There is spacing that is needed for you to put your mulch. Now, don't throw every other mulch around your tree because it will attract pests. Mulch can be done at least 4 inches from the tree to 1 foot, depending on the size of the tree and the amount of mulch you have. Yes. But again, join us every other Saturday. In case you miss on information or you have questions that you would want to ask, you can send us email at jkusengafarm@gmail.com. You can email us or you can contact us through our contacts. We reach out and educate you more on the nitty-gritties of the aspect ratios you should use in mixing and mixing these solutions to spray in the farm. The next, no, now again, it is a whole class. We cannot dwell on all the diseases in one episode. This is the second episode. Now, today we have done 3. We go to pests, which are also affecting your trees. And the next pest is spider mites. Spider mites, from the name spider, are small reddish spiders that attack your leaves, mostly during the summer. The leaves are, you will, for you to identify them, you will either see yellowish, brownish, or reddish stuff under the leaves. Now, because the spider might suck the sap of leaves, your leaves, instead of curling to the inside when they are drying, they curl to the outside. Now, the upper side, the upper surface becomes exposed because they are drying up. They are drying up because the spider mites are under the leaves and they're sucking the sap and they want to dry up the leaves. That is the easiest way to identify. Again, for you to identify spider mites in the farm is you will see some spider webs. Again, they're spiders, but very tiny, very invincible, and very active, very destructive. They can destroy your farm in a... Yes. Now, for the leaves of the apples or the leaves of any fruit that is affected by spider mites, as I've said, you will see them curl to the inside. The curling, if you turn your leaves like this, look at the downer part, you will see reddish color, a reddish color. That is not just color, it is the spider mites, because they are very tiny. You can not see with your eyes. They are very tiny and they are very many. The first and the easiest way to controlling the spread of spider mites and the spider mites in your farm is spraying water. Spraying water with high pressure controls helps in controlling the spider mites. The second one, and it is almost in every other disease that we have talked about and pest, is neem oil. Neem oil is a solution. As I've said, consult. There is garlic, chili spray, and rabbit urine. There are also ways of controlling spider mites in the farm, because if you've sat around rabbits when they urinate, the urine is very toxic. Now it will help you deal with spider mites. Another way of controlling is introducing beneficial insects like ladybugs. You cannot control ladybugs to come to your farm, but you can plant things that will attract these beneficial insects into the farm. You can consult for that. The next pest is weevils. The weevils that attack your maize plantation is the same weevil we're talking about. The only distinction is they have snouts. They have long snouts. Now, the weevils attack the leaves and the flowers. Mostly come at night. They mostly come at night and attack your leaves and flowers. They attack the flowers so that pollination cannot happen. Now, when pollination does not happen, it means you will not have fruits in the farm, because the flowers are the ones that turn into fruits. According to your biology, they turn into fruits. If they are attacked, pollination cannot happen, so there is no space for creating fruits. They also attack leaves because they know for you a tree to grow, it needs to feed. Now, the leaves are the ones that feed the tree. If they're attacked by these weevils, they don't go anywhere. Now, your tree can be 3 years old because your farm is attacked by weevils and you're not aware. Weevils have different colors. There's the brown, the yellowish one with the brown on the back. The, there are so many weevils, but they have the one I'm talking about has long snots. Once they attack your farm, because you might think they are helping in pollination, you might leave them in the farm, and then they destroy the farm. Your farm might be 3 years old without anything. It's because of these weevils, and because you don't scout your farm very often, you don't know if they are helping or they are destroying your farm. If you don't consult, if you don't see people who have experienced them, you will not know if they are beneficial insects or not. They are beneficial insects like ladybugs, chameleons. Those are beneficial, but for some, like weevils, they're not beneficial. They will not help in pollination. They will destroy your plant. Now, the first and easiest way to control them, control them is mulch. Now, the mulch area that you put your mulch helps prevent these pests from climbing a tree. But again, 3 inches and above helps. The distance between your mulch and your tree should be 3 inches going forward, so that it helps prevent diseases, pests from who are ballooing around your trees. Okay, now the next easiest way of controlling your weevils in the farm is, remember neem oil. Again, neem oil always comes, and it will come. As a farmer, I encourage you to plant mwarubaini in your farm. It is a plant. Plant them in your farm. It will not cost you anything. It will not take up space, and it will help you in dealing with the weevils and other pests and diseases. The other one is, and I encourage every farmer to do, is scouting your farm. You should scout your farm as often as possible to encourage you know the pests and diseases. Again, also do research. We have done research as J Kusenga Farm to know these diseases and pests, but we encourage you to also do research. If you don't have time, you can watch our videos from the first one to the last one we're posting right now. You can watch our videos. We have information that is hidden in the videos, and the only way you will get them is either you contact us or you see the videos. Information is key, and it is said, a wise man once said, the key to success is information. We got the information, you got the key. Whatever you do with the key is all up to you. From J Kusenga, this is the second episode on the pests and diseases. We will be doing more. Now we'll also delve on other, apart from apples, we'll also delve on other fruits coming soon. But support the channel.